I'm not a ranger yet, but I will be in the future.
Once a ranger,
Always a ranger.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Once a Ranger. I'm joined by Nick, Nev, and Akil, and we are past the Island of Illusion, and we are working on the Rockstar and Calamity Kim this week. 2 episodes that are, well, less than interesting, I guess.
Well, I like the first one, the one that we're going to talk about. It was interesting.
It was. I don't know if I love this episode, but that's fair. Go ahead. Tell me what you love about it.
Well, okay. I know, like, it's very formulaic. I think that's where it was very appealing. It's like felt very familiar.
Yes.
Like the Isle of Illusions was a little bit more like it would break formula because it was like a 2-parter kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this one was like very a return to form. I also believe that this episode was just recorded before Tommy even existed.
Yeah. Where's Tommy?
The classic question of where is Tommy?
Part of that question
even
is
like addressed at all.
Yeah, and like they're all going on a friend trip.
Yeah.
It's like, did you even invite him? Like, what is he doing?
There's a lot of questions I have here for this little trip that they're going on. So they know they're just leaving to. I don't know where they're going. I don't think they ever said where they're going. I guess they're going camping or something. But they just like decide to not bring. Well, they don't decide to bring Jason because they asked him to come, but he's like, oh, I want to spend time with my cousin because he's only in town this weekend. I was like, well, shouldn't they just moved the date to go? I mean, these kids have a lot of free time, I assume.
Yeah.
So couldn't they have just gone next weekend if they really wanted Jason to go there?
Well, they said maybe it was a field trip, right?
Yeah. Was it?
Yeah.
Why does everything relate to school? Even Trini's cooking, like cookies. Like, why couldn't she just bake cookies?
Right.
Why does it have to be with the class?
Why was that included? I thought that was like pretty funny. That it's a very classic joke. It's like, oh, snails.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, I'm like, I would definitely eat that.
I've had snails, and they're very good. Escargot is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, it's a tired kind of joke, but they liked it before they found out.
What it was.
Like, so there's no real reason for. But also, to me, it's not weird because it's snails. It's weird because it's a cookie. With snail,
cookie.
Yeah, escargot cookie. Like if they had like beef or like chicken in there, I would be equally weirded out.
Yeah.
I watched a character moment. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Smosh. One of them makes cilantro lime cookies, and I'm like, I don't know if I could eat that, but I also want to try it like really bad.
On Smosh?
Yeah. What's his name? Shane. Shane Top. I guess he's known for making like these like cilantro lime cookies, and I was like, I don't believe that they're good. Everyone says that they're good. And I don't think it's true.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And that moment with the cookies is interesting for the characters because we now have an instance of Billy translating for Trini.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
That was a little flip on its head.
Reversal.
Yeah. The thing, Nick, the reason why I think this episode, maybe I just don't like episodes when they have kids that are weirdly dubbed, right? Like, it's the dubbing that always gets to me, right? Like, and I think it throws me off every time. I just can't get around it. I'm like, what's the point? Like, why are you dubbing this kid? At least this dubber was pretty accurate to what the lips were. Mm-hmm. Like, there were moments where it's like, oh, the lips aligned up. But like, they don't sound like the rest of the characters.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like in cartoons when there's a little boy like Timmy Turner or Bart Simpson, and they're like obviously voiced by an older woman.
Yeah.
This had the same voice. It was like obviously an older woman that was overdubbing.
It wasn't Tara Strong, was it? I don't think so.
Maybe.
She sounded a little like Ash Ketchum.
A little bit of Ash Ketchum, a little bit of Phil and Lil from the Rugrats.
I could be. Wow, we're gonna discover this.
Yeah, look up the Rockstar Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's not dubbed? What if the kid just talks weird? That'd be so funny.
No, there was definitely some ADR there. It was definitely.
It's at least ADR, if not somebody completely different.
Yeah,
No, it's not Tara Strong. I don't know.
I don't know why
Obviously
it
they
always
could probably
happens
talk.
too. It's like
Yeah.
every guest child actor. I think even sometimes the adults too, but definitely for like the child actors, it's just like there's some ADR dubbing going on. Like,
Yeah.
why can't
Yeah.
you just get someone? Like, was it just technical issues back then? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like so jarring, and I guess it's not a fair criticism of me because all of Power Rangers is wonky, right? In a technical standpoint, but for me, that's my line. That's my line in the set.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's a
it's
fair
like-
line because, like, even outside on the beach, Jason's lines were also dubbed over. You could tell,
Mhm. Right.
but it was Jason's voice, so it wasn't as noticeable as the little kid.
Yeah, and I think like beach, like recording on a beach is hard. It was probably windy, like, and yeah. But if it's jarring when one of the characters is dubbed and not the others.
Okay, so the actor who portrayed the kid is not the same person who did the voiceover for his own voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brianna Brosey is the person who did the voice for this kid that did all the dubbing over for Jeremy, who was also, I guess, the voice of Circuit from Time Force.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So-
Nice.
They
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear that. I can hear that.
Yeah, right. Now that you
Yeah.
know, it's like, whoa, that's wild.
That kid is like, his soul got sucked into Circuit, and that's
Right.
that's the explanation for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how much of the practice was done in filming. Like, oh, you said this line wrong. Let's just dub it over really quick.
Right.
You know. So I don't know why they do it always for the kids. That one's a little.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
a
you're
bit
right.
strange.
Maybe how often do you think they dub over these actors, like when they are out like on the beach and stuff? Like, do you think it's like 100% of the time and you just don't notice?
I think it's all the time.
Right.
Because
it
I've
has to
noticed
be,
some
right?
wonky ADR before. And
Right.
even in this episode when they were outside. So I feel like they just do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right, probably.
And
yeah.
maybe there's like restrictions on like kids aren't allowed to film for this amount of time. So like he couldn't
Maybe.
legally come back to the recording booth or something like that.
Yeah, but it's funny because it always makes the kids sound like the voice actors they use make the kids sound I don't know, something's off about it. It's like more innocent that they act like no kid sounds like that. You
Like,
know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah.
Gee
It's-
golly, right?
Somebody
Like
Yeah,
pretending
yes,
to be a kid. Yeah.
yeah, and that's how I felt about this kid. But I did like that they dressed him like Jason. That reminded like
Yeah.
the kid like Billy, Billy's like little kid who wasn't
right.
related to
Oh,
Billy,
God.
but
Not Billy.
not Billy.
Not
At least
Willie.
this is like
Willie.
Willie.
Really, that's the one.
At least this is like Jason's cousin. But it got me thinking about like how in universe nobody understands why these are not the Power Rangers, despite them dressing all in one color and hanging out with each other. Apparently, it's not that uncommon because
Yeah.
Willie
Yeah.
and Jason's cousin also do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Jason and Jeremy, the red people. Willie and Billy, the blue people.
The good people.
I guess Angel Grove's all about color coordinating, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
by what you're associated with. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun to kind of like have just like a Jason centered episode. I feel like we don't get a lot, or we haven't
We
had
don't.
one other than I guess like parts of Evil with Green were like Jason
Jason,
just because
yeah.
he does have a little bit of like this relationship with again Goldar, but like I thought it was kind of fun to have him like do this whole thing by
Yeah.
himself.
I love
Um,
Jason, as you know, so I agree.
Yeah.
But go on. Yeah.
That's why I thought it was weird. It was like, oh, I didn't find this interesting. It was like, it's all about him though.
I know.
Yeah.
The thing I didn't find interesting was the kid, and I'm like, come on. But yeah, I did. There were parts that I did like about it.
Okay.
I just think there's a bunch of stuff that was okay. So what was interesting is Jason the himbo saying like brains over brawn.
Yes.
Mhm.
That was so funny.
It's like what?
I
You're
was
not.
like, this guy.
Yeah.
This guy punches his way through most things,
Mhm. But in a smart way.
but in a smart way.
But then
Yeah.
that was paid off because Jeremy was hiding from the putties like a hobbit on the side of the road. And he
right.
said it again, brains before brawn.
I think he doesn't really believe it. He was just trying to like help his nephew or his cousin just like go on a different path than himself.
Right.
Yeah.
I like Bulk and Skull showing up here. Um, I want to try that Sloppy Joe pizza.
Yeah.
Me too.
It sounded so good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Seems like a combo that seems like, wow, like, how has no one talked about this? I feel like I could make this at home.
Yeah, better than the.
sure.
This is like a weird food episode, right? Like,
Oh
better
yeah,
than
they
the
have like weird. They have some strange food.
yeah, there's like escargot. I love that Bulk and Skull. Like, they're just hanging out together on a beach.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That like small tidbit made me really happy because they're just kind of like living their lives and doing stuff. Like it makes them feel like characters. So a lot of the times, like, characters are written with a flaw where, like, it seems like their universe doesn't really exist outside of main characters, like Draco Malfoy. Like, he's just only Harry Potter and nothing else. But Bulk and Skull have their own lives and are doing their own things and just happen to interact with the Rangers once in a while, which I think is nice.
Yeah. And this time around, it's almost like begrudgingly. Like, he's eating a Sloppy Joe pizza.
Yeah.
He sees Jason. He's like, I gotta go bully this kid. Who's the pipsqueak?
Yeah.
Right. Was it this episode or the episode after where they're like, Bulk and Skull should get their own TV show? Oh, was it? I think
yeah,
it was
that was the episode after. I did make a note about that too. We could touch on it when we go to the next episode. So Jason says, I used to be insecure, and I made a note of that because we've talked about how Jason has like hints of like being a reformed bully, you know, with his rage and whatnot, and especially since the 2017 movie, he also was like a reformed bully. And I didn't know the insecure thing because that is like quintessential, like one of the main reasons people say people are bullies, right? So
right.
I thought that was like an interesting tidbit to have.
Yeah. Again, like the point of reference I have are the comics, and he does like mention it a little bit in Go-Go Power Rangers. So it is cool again to see like those like elements kind of bleed through. Like know about the comic books. I know again like the writers were all like really big fans of the show, so they probably picked up on these small details and then like just expanded on them a little bit better. But it is cool to see like get a little bit more background from Jason and like why he does what he does. And I definitely attribute to like the confidence thing, seeing more of that come forward, like being part of his character, which is why it's always cool to get like these character centric episodes. One idea I like about like the Power Ranger series is like, yeah, they are a team, and usually collectively they're showcased as like 5 Rangers. They're nothing without each other, but they're also like individuals. Right? They all have like their own values and what they find cool and fun, and they have their own personalities. So it's always cool to get like these episodes that really focus on those.
Yeah, I always like having an insight on their lives and their friendships outside of being like a ranger, especially when it's out like for Mighty Morphin, especially when it's outside of school, right?
Yes.
They're finally doing something or out of a charity, right? You know, they're just like, oh, apparently they got on a field trip. I was like, but why did they take the car?
Yeah.
Like, what situation? And then they just abandoned their car there. Did they go back on vacation because they're at the juice bar?
Well,
but
that always asks the question to me. It's like they could have just teleported wherever they were going, right? Like, I guess they couldn't have because they're only supposed to use their powers to like fight Rita or like evil. You know,
but does that mean they're allowed to teleport back, or did they have to like take the bus to their car?
I don't. Can you imagine? Zordon's like, nah, you guys gotta walk. Like, you can't. Like, teleport to the beach. Your friend's in trouble. They're like, okay, we gotta go back to our field trip now. And he's like, okay, but you guys can't teleport back. You guys actually have to walk.
Take the bus. Figure it out. That's so funny.
Very in character for Zordon.
I know, right? And Alpha's just gonna be like, well, maybe you should. And Zordon will be like, nope.
No, sorry. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them.
But going off what you're saying, it's really nice to see, like, with that context, like, oh, you know, he was insecure, and you can see, like, stages of his rage in the last few episodes, like, coming out. Like, it's really nice to see how teaching brings out a Zen part of him, especially with, like, teaching his child or his cousin. this child and or his students, right? Like it really like shows his growth as a person. But so I think going back to what I was saying about it's weird for him to say brains over brawn. I think he like wants to teach the kids who he wants to be as opposed to who he is.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because he's like, I used to be insecure, but it's like, oh, but maybe you still are a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see that a little bit when we first see him teaching the martial arts, and he's like, it's about discipline, it's about self-control. And then Jeremy's like, can you show me a cool move? And he's like, yeah. How about this spin kick?
How about this little number I got right here?
Yeah.
I want to talk about Rita's plan because, like, it's smart, right? It's like, oh, we'll give them. Did she give them the map to the mirror?
No, it's like they're fishing.
Okay.
Jason went martial arts training and fishing with his cousin. That was the plan for the day.
Okay, anyway, I thought the plan was they would find the mirror and they would like accidentally like kill themselves. Because that's what Rita made it sound like. I was like, they're gonna open that mirror and they're gonna blast so much energy. And I was like, oh, that seems like a pretty like because you were looking for treasure, right? Like you would want to open whatever's there.
Mm-hmm.
So she sends Scorpina out. I guess I don't know where Scorpina's been this whole time. She like just shows up randomly.
She's been hanging out the last few episodes.
Yeah,
she's just like, oh, Goldar, my husband, how are you? And just like chilling, just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm here. But then they find the treasure, and again, I thought the plan was like they would open accidentally, and then it would just like kill Jason and the kid. But then Scorpina attacks the kid, and then he finds out, whoa, like this is a cannon. This is actually just a power cannon. Which I think is really funny because he throws it. And he's like, "This is too much heat for me," and then he just throws it away. It's like, okay, I mean that seems like a reasonable Ranger,
right? Like,
yeah.
And it's funny because it looks just like a mirror. It's like here's my,
right.
Or like it's like here, and it was weird. But yes, go ahead.
And then the putty the putty showed up before, but Jason's just. I mean, I guess there's no choice for this kid to just like fight the putties, right? So they'll fight off the putties, and then I think they had like a moment, like they were like, "Oh, it's cool." Like, Jason doesn't have this thought, like maybe we should go back, maybe we should leave. Nope, they go out to go get this treasure thing when he knows that Rita's involved already. So that's
because he knows that Rita wants it because the putty showed up.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
so
literally,
he has to have some kind of idea that like Rita is involved in some kind of way.
No, but Jason is not brains over brawn.
He's trying so hard.
He's trying so hard, dude.
He's just not smart, right? Yeah. Like he's a good leader, but like that's why he needs Billy on the team.
Right.
I say that out of love. Yeah.
Child endangerment. Don't call your friends. I thought it was really funny when like it was like there was like an earthquake, and he's like, "Stay down, just stay here." He just like runs away. It's like, what's that gonna do?
Like, even Tommy stayed with his kids.
Yeah, exactly. These are the real arguments to how we treat children in Power Rangers universe.
I know. That's so funny.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked. I thought it was again really funny. They all just teleported to the beach.
Yeah.
It's like what was the point of going on this trip? You guys could have just.
Literally, that's what I was thinking. So I was thinking about this. I'm like, logistically, usually they make the Rangers go somewhere because there's not enough footage for like, or like maybe in Morph. I thought it was gonna be a Jason fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't have footage, right? Why they make them leave. But I'm like, no, they made them leave and everyone's still fighting. So then I was trying to figure it out. So I think the way they were thinking about it was they needed Jason to have this like whole fight by himself, right? Unmorphed. Like gets trapped with the rocks and whatever.
Right.
And then bring the Rangers over. Like that's the only reason I could think of. But that was all unmorphed. So
right. But also they like morphed, and then there was a resort for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was a pool resort.
I think when Scorpina, I guess, teleported to that forest, she looks over to the right and she sees the resort. So I think she's like, "Oh, that's where we need to go."
Yeah.
That's funny.
I love when we see Scorpina. She's just like one of my favorites, even though she doesn't like she and Goldar don't really do much, right? This time she was a little bit more useful than Goldar.
I thought it was really cool. Was this the first time she got big?
No, she got big before.
Did she have that form before?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I like the form she has when she gets big, but also like I have a lot of questions. It's like, is that her true form? Like, does she look like that? Like, or does she choose that form like when she gets big?
Right.
A lot of questions I have there.
Yeah.
Usually when the giant, I think this episode when they went big, or like when they called the Zords, that's when I asked like, where the fuck is Tommy? Like, there's no way nobody knows that this isn't happening now. Like,
right.
It's usually a big deal that the Power Rangers call their giant robots. So it's like, where is Tommy?
Tommy's like watching it on. Yeah, he's watching on TV, and he's like, "Well, they didn't invite me on vacation.
They didn't invite me on vacation." He's actually really sour about it. He's like, they invited Jason, but they didn't invite me, so I'm just not gonna show up.
Yeah, and Jason couldn't even come. Meaning they had room for me. So maybe if they only had, the buggy only seats 5. I get it. But Jason didn't even go on vacation. They had room for me.
Do you think when they make these episodes, because like again, it was like a Jason focused episode, like they had scripts already, or they just showed up on set and they're like, we're going to record something today? Because I feel like that's what happened. It's like some episodes will start of like the Kimberly Arrow episode, or the Frog episode. That wasn't about Kimberly, but like that was like a very iconic moment for her.
Yeah.
Like, okay, in this one, I don't think anything really iconic happens for Jason.
Yeah.
The mirror thing was cool when like she dropped the mirror and then it was in the sky and they're like power sword. So they summoned the power sword, flashed the mirror all in like one swoop. I thought that was pretty cool, but other than that, it's like, okay, this could have been just like a generic Power Ranger episode, like just all of them dealing with this. There's really no reason why they left to go do this little camping trip thing that they went on. That part confuses me.
It definitely was an interesting episode, and that's why it's not high on my list.
Mm-hmm.
My notes for this were like this short. So, there's not much going on. Jason hangs out with the kid that, like, I think, like, the kid even has the exact same, like, the pants. I feel like they're Jason's pants.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, probably just hand-me-downs, right?
Yeah, I was like, this kid is, like, weird, like, just exactly, like, not even wearing the same colors, exactly like Jason. But I guess Willie also dressed exactly like Billy, because they both,
right. The ending was cool, though. It was, like, kind of gave insight to, like, how the general public sees the Power Rangers.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also really fun. Like, he's like telling everybody, and it's like, it's funny for us as the audience because obviously we know they're the Power Rangers, but it's like, oh god, there was 5 of them and there was 5 of you.
Yeah.
And this guy was red and that guy was blue and you're red and you're blue. But
and you wear all black, and you always want to hear about the color that you're wearing.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Jason's about to leave, and he's like, "Wait, actually, I want to hear this."
I want to hear about all this. Ernie's like, "You met the Power Rangers?" Like, bro, you live here. Like, what are you talking? Everyone's met the Power Rangers.
Yeah, right. It's true. Everyone has met the Power Rangers at some point.
Yeah.
I love that they still like hearing about themselves, because even at the end of Calamity Kim, they were like, "Oh, well, they're talking about us." Let's go watch.
Yeah.
Even though it's happened so many times where they talk about, like, see, even in the end of episode 1, they're like listening to them talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but if I were a Power Ranger, I would love to hear about myself all the time too. So I'm not really. It's not a criticism. Like, it's just cute that they do that.
It's a really like fun superhero trope, right? It's like when Peter Parker hears about Spider-Man, he's like, "What else? What else do you think about?" Or it's either that, or they just like don't want to talk about it, like ever. They're like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." It's like, what do you mean? There's literally a giant monster every week. Like, this is all we talk about.
Our lives are constantly in danger. What do you mean you don't want to talk about it?
The rent has been the best it's ever been. Nobody wants to live here.
Yeah. You pay $2 for rent, but the cost is literally you might be crushed by a giant monster at any time.
That's how Ernie's getting away with this free labor. Dog.
Yeah. Oh man. I always thought that Angel Grove had like infinite money because like some of the stuff, like get rebuild like so fast.
Or they're just taking advantage of these teenagers that are willing to do community service every hour. Like,
excuse me, yeah. Oh man, it's so true.
oh god,
that's
all
so
right.
funny.
What's
All
the
right,
second one?
Yeah, Calamity Kim.
Yes, yes.
This is a Kimberly-based episode. We have a lot of Kimberly-based episodes, actually.
Yeah.
This is another one, and this is one she's actually not like mean at all in this one.
Yeah,
So
I definitely felt bad for this.
I was a little confused, like why, like how this episode started, because it's like in her room,
yeah,
which is cool. Like we get to see like her like how she lives, like, but like I think the randomest one was that her dress was burnt.
yeah,
Like, that was, she just pulls out the dress and she's like, burnt. I was like, you probably, well, no, she's a teenager. Maybe her parents put that in there. But
yeah.
like, why would anyone think like, yeah, I should just
Like,
put this back in the closet?
You know,
It was
probably
in
her
a
mom.
dry cleaning bag, right?
Yeah.
So they probably just had a stack that they put in all together.
But she
Yeah.
should call
see
the
that
dry
one of
cleaning
them-
business.
Yeah, right?
The dry cleaner burnt your clothes. It's like maybe no one will notice. We'll just put it in this bag.
It's a giant hole in the dress.
But yeah, this episode, I agree with you. I love seeing into their bedrooms, especially because it's like 90s bedrooms, right? So they have like these like patterned bed sheets, right? And they're not like pink, right? Even though the rest of her room is pink, and then even Trini's room, like it just looks very 90s, right?
Right.
She wakes up, her alarm clock is like waking her up, which is like a normal teenage morning, but she really doesn't like it today. But I understand, Kimberly. I also never want to wake up, so I get it. But she falls out of bed or something. Then her hair
Wakes
is
up
a
on
mess.
the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Her hair is a mess. Her clothes get burned, and then an earthquake happens, and then she breaks a mirror, which is.
Was that an earthquake or was it thunder? I thought it was just thunder.
It was
Oh, no,
both.
yeah, it was both. So it was
That was
raining
both.
outside, and then there's an earthquake.
Yeah.
Yes.
When
So
she's
I-
walking back to bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is like a really bad day, like to start off. Like I'll hand that to her, because even if one of those things happened to me, I would cry. Right? I would
Literally
like,
go back to bed and try
Yeah.
to start over.
I'd
Just
give it up on
funny
today.
about the production is like there's this light in the scene that like looks like a window, right?
Mhm.
It's like, but it's raining, so it's like, where's this sunlight? Where's this square shaped light coming from? Because I was watching it and I was like, if it's supposed to be sunny outside, because like it opens with like it being the morning, right? So it's like sunny outside, and that's the reason she wakes up. But then it's raining and there's a thunderstorm. I understand later when like the sky is clear, but like in that moment I was like very confused. I was like, what is the weather right now?
Right. Also, she has 2 windows. Is that normal in
I don't
American? I was
Wait,
gonna. Is that an American thing?
Maybe she has she like 2 windows on the opposite side.
Yeah, like not just like 2 windows. There was like one on this wall and one on this wall.
2 windows.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he's literally right here. Okay, cool.
Well,
yeah.
I guess she has 3
I
windows.
haven't seen that. Like,
Wait, really?
sorry?
That's
Yeah.
not a normal thing?
I mean,
No.
I also
Left 2
have 2
windows?
I
Yeah, I
also
was
have
like-
2 windows.
Okay.
Apartment unit.
My parents' house that I grew up in, no room has 2 windows.
Mhm.
The house that I have now, no room has 2 windows. So
Yeah.
that's my frame of reference.
So, like, on the corners and stuff, some houses have windows if they're not like built too close together.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Apartment
my
living,
confusion
it's
is-
rare to have 1 window sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my old apartment, I only had like a glass screen door, like, and that was my window.
Yeah.
But there was no other windows in the
Yeah.
in the
In
apartment.
my last apartment, same thing, just the door.
Yeah.
Do you like having 2 windows? Is it like sunny inside? They have a lot of
This is such a
light.
weird conversation. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Well, since we're at a standstill, let me tell you, I have a south-facing office, and I'm in Canada. So, right now in the summertime, from 4 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, I have direct sunlight into this room. and it heats up like an oven.
Ooh, man.
So I
So-
have the room darkeners. They don't do much.
Right.
So it sounds like not liking 2 windows.
No, don't like 2 windows. But I feel like Kim has 3 windows, right? Because there's the
Right.
window that the weird light is coming in. There's the
Mhm.
window that she looks outside when it's sunny, and there's the window that she looks outside when it's raining.
So is her like room
He's-
like a deviated out from the building?
It's like a peninsula.
Yeah, it has to be like that's
unless
wild.
the light one's like a skylight or something.
That having a
'Cause
skylight in your
it's-
room, that's crazy.
It's coming at a weird angle. But
uh,
my main
They just put her
confusion
in
was
the
that
attic or
is,
something.
This looks like Trini's room. Is it
It
the same
probably
set as
was.
Trini's room?
I honestly
Probably.
thought when I first turned on the episode, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm watching the doll episode again."
Yeah.
I had to double check it. I was like, "No, that's Kimberly. That's
Yeah.
definitely not Trini."
They just have one bedroom set that they have to reuse.
They
I mean,
probably-
fair enough.
they
It's
probably
tough.
Yeah,
It's
anyway.
tough to like find filming locations, but I also have to hand it to Amy Jo Johnson for that earthquake scene. Like
Mhm.
her little shaky leg things were very good, and that's
Very
not
good.
me being sarcastic because it's like
They
the it's like the Star Trek thing where they like move the camera and everyone's
Right.
actually staying still. Like that's what they did there, and I'm like, yo,
Um,
she did a good shaky leg thing.
In
Yeah.
classic Rita fashion, she's like, "I'm definitely gonna fuck her up today."
Yeah.
That's
Definitely.
What's weird is
Psychological
she
torture.
wasn't watching. Like,
Right.
why was like somebody looking through her window? It was
Yeah.
like either Squad or Babu, and I'm like, that is the weird thing. Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
what are
he's-
they doing there?
Well, both
They had
episodes.
no reason.
That was both episodes too.
Oh,
Squat-
really?
Yeah, he was the one who informed Rita that they were on their trip, that they were taking a trip.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
Oh, maybe they're just like. I mean, I guess it does make sense if they're like scouts on Earth because they usually
Right.
are the ones like reporting back.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
kind of weird though. He's like watching like he's
Through
watching
her
Kimberly
window.
wake up.
Yeah.
Does he
Yeah.
do this every morning? Like this?
It's
And he
weird.
like crouches over when she's looking outside at the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, woo! She's having a bad day. But maybe he was like tasked to like check on them. Like I could see that where she's like, I can't keep looking through this telescope. It's hurting my eye. And you just like look at that. Yeah, anime. Can you just do it? But
At
yeah,
least she has order. She has.
But she
precautions
doesn't.
for,
It
like-
doesn't seem like she sends him. He does it on his own accord because he just comes
Yeah.
back to her. He's like, "Oh, I saw that she's having a bad day," and she's
I'm
like,
gonna take a
look
"Rita's
at
like,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
really?
She-
That's
Yeah.
interesting." At least in these 2 episodes, she didn't respond with like a thank you for reporting back to like, oh, you're reporting back to me.
Yeah.
It was more like he did this on his own accord, taking initiative, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll capitalize on this situation." But,
Maybe
like,
they just got like a whole system on like down, you know, like it's either like Rita's up early in the morning to watch these teenagers, right? Or it's like she's dealing with her headache. So like, okay, Squad and Babu, like, okay, we know the thing here. We should go down for her. That's what we
Yeah.
do.
yeah.
Maybe they have the whole system laid out
Mhm.
for when it happened.
But we've seen this. Even like in, I think it was Islands of Illusion or the one before that. Squat and Babu are go-getters.
Mhm.
They like go out of their
Truly.
way to make sure they're doing their job well.
Yes.
So this just might be what he does. He might have been doing this the whole time.
yeah.
So they go to school, and
Mhm.
what is it? She's like really wrecked, dude. She's really
wrecked.
not having
Yeah.
a day
And she
there.
brought an umbrella, and everyone else is dry. So clearly something happened. She
Yeah.
throws her umbrella in the garbage.
Yeah.
My heart
I'm
goes for her.
assuming it,
I
like
was
broke or
Kimberly.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Then she was like, Tommy shows up, right? Tommy shows up,
Yeah.
and he's really nice. He's really nice about like the way that I thought it was really funny
Yeah.
though. He put his hand on her to like make her feel better, and then he just went like this.
Yeah.
He just swiped his hand on his chest. I was like, okay, so you're there, but it's just the visual gag of that. He's like, it's gonna be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. And then Bulk
then-
Skull.
And then Bulk and Skull, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, Bulk looked. I think Skull looked pretty fashionable because you have
Yes.
the beret.
Yeah, the coat.
He looked
and
very
the
nice.
coat. I
The
like,
coat
yeah,
was really
this
nice.
guy.
Yeah.
Skull is turning it up. He's like, Kimberly's gonna be here, gotta pull out all the stops. But then he teases her.
Mhm.
Right.
He like-
it was a pretty good. I mean, he was obviously bullying her, but like it was pretty
Yeah.
clever what he said. It was like, "Oh, this is why you stood up our date last night."
Yeah.
And then she responded like, "Oh, I didn't plan any date with you, you goon," or something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds like the
Goon
lady
is the right
don't
word.
produce too much. Yeah, that sounds very convincing, Kimberly. Like, I told you to tell nobody.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's
But-
just the classic
Such
antics.
a weird, like I was so confused for a second because like the comment came out of nowhere, so I was just like it seemed like there was a missing part to that conversation. He was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, our date last night." I was like, "Wait, what?" That's so such a creepy thing to say to someone.
I was too taken by his attire. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, tell me something cool."
It was a
Yeah.
very creepy thing to say to someone randomly, like no context, nothing, no beginning to it. He was just like,
Yeah.
"So
But
our
they-
date
they-
last night." I was like, "Wait, what?" That's
For the
weird.
moment, I
probably
believed
have
him.
Yeah.
I
They
think he
probably
was
have like a history. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, exactly. They have that history. I'm sure he was expecting some sort of like witty comeback that he would interpret as flirting, but
Yeah.
Right.
she was just too pissed off and not having it. So
Yeah.
she called him like a goober or whatever.
I think she just said goon.
Goon.
Goon or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yeah, they clearly go this back and forth like a lot. It's not. I don't think it's like out of character for them to be like that.
Yeah.
She, I think, I'm using this term very loosely, is the closest to Vulcan Skull. At this point, I think she has like the most interactions with them that are not entirely negative all the time. Even though there's a lot that are negative. Like, I'm gonna say that. And she just
Right.
had like interact with them more. Like, they went on a trip with her dad, like her uncle. Like, they actually like, do stuff together, as
Right.
opposed to like other Rangers, not so much. So, her relationship with them is like a little different. But I love that like
A bit of
Tommy.
rewriting history, if you ask me.
Little-
She didn't go on a trip with them. They forced their way onto the plane. She didn't say, "Hey, Balkan Skull, come join me." She literally was like, "Don't allow them on."
She hates them, but she has more right to hate them than the other Rangers, is what I'm saying,
That's true.
because she has more history with them. Like, they're more like
Yeah,
they're more in
that's
her life
fair.
than any other. That's why even just like looking at them. So I definitely worded that wrong. She,
It's fine.
even like looking at them gets her like really pissed off.
Yeah.
Whereas with everyone else, like they kind of only get pissed off when they like talk to them or do
Right,
something
they kind of
stupid.
seem like more of like an annoyance. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, there
Yeah.
they come again. You know,
But
let's see what
it's
they
like
say or do.
actively mad, and
I
for
know.
good reason, right? So like
Yeah.
every time they say something, so that's back to my original point. Like the comments aren't really out of the blue because they clearly have like
Right.
Oh no.
this long, yeah.
I didn't mean the comment was out of character or anything. It was just like the like scripting of that scene. It was just
Yes.
so like abrupt when he was just like, "Oh, so our date." I was like, wait, like there was not even like, "Hey, Kimberly."
Because
It
we
was
didn't
just
know
like
the audience. Again, he's too well dressed for that scene. I was like, yeah, I'll believe him. There was a date.
So it was just the writing of that scene
I
was
was
very
literally
abrupt.
there watching it.
I
And
totally
was like,
got
"Damn,
it from
Kimberly,
a
I can't believe you did that."
I totally got it from a Skull point of view. Just it was like the scene itself was like abrupt with it, so that's why I was like, "Wait, what? Where's this comment coming?" There's a little bit of like,
Yeah.
banter or something that takes place,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it was just like, "I'm just gonna drop this line on you and expect what? I don't know."
I really liked it. Again, I was very much convinced. Like, yeah, dude, I can't believe Kimberly stood you up. That's awful.
That is awful. She's
The
having a
line
bad day.
in Across the Spider-Verse, where it's like, it's not really a spoiler, but like the spot's like, I created you and you created me, and then Miles' dad was like, Spider-Man, why'd you create that guy? And I was like, I was very much like that. I was like, I can't believe you did that. That's awful.
That's so funny. She's like, I just-
That's so funny.
That is so funny. Speaking of like jarring, like that whole scene, I know what you're saying, Nev, because they also had these like random close-ups. Like they like
Yeah.
like Tommy's face, it was like floating head close-up, and then it was like Bulk's face. It was definitely had this like interesting cameras angles that they hadn't used before.
I definitely think they just want to give like Tommy as many money shots as possible.
Right.
The guy was like, he was handsome, right? Like,
He was handsome,
he was
yeah.
handsome. Definitely eye candy for a lot of like, you know, like he was the guy. Like he
Mhm.
was that guy. And I'm like, because I noticed those too. I was like, he has a lot of headshots not even the regular cast has this many headshots, but he in particular, every time he comes in, he always comes in like the classic 90s like turnaround moment. You know what I mean? Like he's always walking into frame, and it's always like he's always like in a perfect view. And it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't know who this is for. This wasn't for me 30 years ago, but this is for me now.
Yeah, I remember when I was a teenager and I was like rewatching Power Rangers, I was just like, oh.
Tommy's here.
Yeah, and that's I rewatched it because so I don't remember how old I was. I was in high school, but Dino Thunder came out. So I was like, oh my god, like I gotta rewatch the original. But even in Dino Thunder, I was like, he's like good. You know what I mean? Like, nice. Good stuff. But then you find out, like, when you hear the actor talk and stuff, it's like, maybe we should just stick to, like, the character.
I clock out immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, RIP, but, you know, he was who he was. He was handsome in this. And I think, like, I made a note where it's like, it is absolutely heartbreaking to see them like this, like Kimberly and Tommy, and they're so adorable together. And then you remember like how it ended, and you know what? I understand now why Tommy, like, even though I always knew why Tommy Kimberly shippers were like so diehard, being like, no, Kat and Tommy did not end up together in the future. Like, clearly Tommy and Kim are OTP. Like, when you watch these early episodes, I know why they think that.
Well, yeah, we were led to believe forever that this was it. This is what love looks like.
Yeah. But I kind of like that it didn't end up that way, because it is a high school relationship.
Right.
I mean, he did end up with his other high school girlfriend, but I think it's like kind of realistic.
It is. Yeah, that was life's first lesson from Power Rangers. Like, wow, sometimes you don't always get the girl.
Yeah.
Even when you are that guy.
Even if you're Tommy.
Even if you're Tommy Oliver, sometimes it doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
But to your point, Minhas, I even talked about this in a video I made talking about, you know, them, where it's like, and because I don't even remember that many scenes, so rewatching it's really interesting, but like, of all the things, there's not much story in these original series, right? But the one story that is there is the development of their relationship, and it's just like all these little moments that ultimately add up to once they get together and everything, you know, like, it's just, this particular scene, I was just like when he was just like, oh, like, I'll walk you home, and she was like, oh, great, like, she gets the butterflies and everything, and I'm just like, it's so simple, and it's very, like, cliche or whatever, but it continues to build on the two of them and their chemistry together, and, like, yeah, we don't get, like, any, like, story in terms of the Rangers and their, like, and Rita, but, like, their story here, like, they put, like, all their energy into building this story. So, to your point also, I get why people are frustrated that it doesn't work out, because it's like, you invested time. They didn't invest time in building Kat and Tommy. It just kind of
they didn't.
Is
it
a
just
thing.
Kind of happened.
Yeah.
Because she's fake and he's Tommy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but, like, this has, you see the build happen, and, like, all these little moments that Tommy is just, like, there for her, but she's also there for him, and, like, yeah, so there was a really sweet moment.
It was really sweet. I like this episode a lot. Clearly, I liked it a lot more than the last episode. I have, like, so many notes on this episode. But going back to, like, Kat and Tommy and, like, Kimberly, like, their whole relationship started with Kat sabotaging Kimberly, right? Like, so it's just like this, it's really an interesting dynamic, which I'm definitely excited to talk about when we get there, but we'll do that in the future. So Tommy and Kimberly are walking home together. It is adorable. And then Kimberly's like, I had a nightmare that Rita was my stepmom. And there's like a pause. And then Tommy's like, oh yeah, gross. Like, in the most unconvincing way imaginable. He's just like, oh, that sounds really awful, you know? But which I thought was so funny. But I think that was just more of the actor probably missed his cue, but, like, now it's canon in universe that he kind of hesitated.
I think my headcanon is that, like, again, Rita was in his head. Like, he was brainwashed, you know? That's like, he probably has, like, this moment of, like, oh, you had a dream about, like, her being your stepmom? That's cool. Like, that sucks. Try being brainwashed.
I know, right?
You did.
She's always in my head. Yeah.
Right.
No.
He probably just didn't want to like ruin her day more.
Mhm.
But I just can imagine like being Tommy and just like going through the emotional trauma of being brainwashed. And then she's like, yeah, man, like she was my stepmom in my dream. And he's like, oh, that must be so hard for you. I'm so sorry.
That's
He's just
so
holding
funny.
back. He's holding back so hard.
And he's like, remember, to get the girl, you have to be nice.
That's so funny.
And
Oh,
then,
man.
yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of things about this fight episode that I really like. Okay, so then the monster comes and like uses the same power on both of them, but has different results. Tommy gets knocked out. Kimberly gets put in the bottle. I legit thought they were going to put Tommy in the bottle too.
I thought,
yeah.
perfect plot to get him out of the scene again.
But they didn't. They made him go unconscious, which I think is the first time up till now that someone couldn't fight because they were seriously injured.
Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, it's kind of like daunting. And like you see Alpha has this like bed in the command center. And he's just like setting it up to teleport Tommy there. And it's actually like, if you think about, I mean, when we're watching it, you're like, haha, that's silly. But in universe, that's very scary, right? Like he knocked his head to the point he's unconscious.
Right.
And then they have to fight these monsters. And Jason's like, hello, can you come help us? And Alpha's like, no, he's like just woke up. Like, what are you talking about? And Tommy's like, no way, I gotta help these guys, even though they didn't invite me on vacation. And excuse me. And it's just like this whole thing that's going on is a lot. Tommy always, it feels like Tommy's just dealing with a lot. That's all I'm saying.
He's constantly dealing with everything, honestly, until later. But like he does, I do feel like he gets the short end of the stick, and he just always puts out the most, you know, because he is injured, right? Like he is injured in this episode, but then after they turn into the Zords, which like before this, I thought it was really cool. Like they were all very emotional. The fact that one of their friends was like stuck, and then the other one was like seriously injured. Like they're actually like verbally and like physically upset and angry. And I thought that was kind of cool to see. It's like, okay, they really do care about each other. But even when like Tommy is like injured and stuff, he's like, oh, I have to go out there, right? And I think that's like a very like honorable like moment for him, like as a hero, because they are like superheroes, and that's why they get to be the Power Rangers, even though he didn't have a choice to be a Power Ranger. Like it's still nice to know, like, okay, like he is still a good person, even though like obviously he's like not in his best condition.
I think that like the fact that he didn't get a choice and the fact that he's still like putting his most out there is really a big testament to Tommy's character.
Yeah.
I
do find it funny though that he did just show up to blow a horn and then like didn't show up. He just, I gotta be out there, and he goes out there. He summons a Dragon Zord. I don't know how he controls that thing. Really, there's been a couple scenes where he's like standing on top of the nose. Sometimes he just blows the flute, and then the Zord's there, and then like he's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what he does exactly. But he was there.
And nobody else can do it because it's linked to him, right?
It's linked to him, yeah.
Yeah, because in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers like 30th episode, they had to do something special so they can all do each other's Zords, right? Right. And that's really important information in this episode because Kimberly is trapped. And that means they can't make the Megazord. So this, I actually thought this was the most cohesive.
Right, this one actually does have some logistics to it.
Yeah, so they can't make the Megazord, and then the Zords are physically fighting them. Right. Which was awesome. Like, I'm like, whoa, like all these Zords are fighting them, like not mushed together. And we almost never see that. And then the Dragon Zord comes, and the remaining Zords merge with them. And like, oh god, I loved that scene with the T-Rex and like the Dragon Zord human hybrid thing. I remember what it's called, but it was such an awesome shot. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I love that. Yeah. They really pulled out all the stops in this episode too, like in terms of the Rangers trying to beat this monster. It was just like escalating and escalating.
I think at some point when they called Titanus, I was like, damn, they really fucking hate this guy.
Yeah.
they just really wanted to turn this guy into dust. Like this, they were really angry about what had happened.
Because there was no real. I guess they were at a point where they weren't getting beat at that point. They called Titanis.
Yeah, no,
right?
they were literally just like, we gotta like literally destroy this guy. This guy has to not exist yesterday.
Yeah,
they were ready.
pulled out all the stop like pew 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 pew, all things at once. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
I don't understand again why Rita grew the monster just like at random. She's like, oh, it's time to grow the monster. I was just like, why? You're doing fine. Like,
yeah.
He's winning.
Yeah. I just don't get it. Like there's
maybe it's supposed to contrast to like the Power Rangers like, oh, never escalate the situation. Even though no one said that in like 30 episodes.
Right.
But it's like, okay, never escalate a situation. I was like, okay, so that must mean Rita escalates the situation every single time. Rita always escalates the situation.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Maybe she thought like, oh, they don't have Kimberly's Zord. They can't do anything. Like Tommy's out of commission, Kimberly's out of commission. Clearly their Zords are out of commission. Maybe that was her thought process.
maybe.
There's a weird thing in like card games my friend taught me. It was like there's certain strategies in cards that you play that are just like win more cards, like or just like win more scenarios that are completely unnecessary. And Rita feels very much like that. Again, like you don't have to do this. You've already won. And sometimes those strategies really suck because like they will cost you your game, they will cost you your opportunity. I just feel like Rita's like, God, if Rita played Magic the Gathering, she would just play red with a bunch of control cards and just keep losing.
Because it's just like in future seasons, most of the times what happens is the monster is destroyed in like its regular form, and then the antagonist grows them, right?
Yes,
then they grow after being defeated the first time. It's never like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna grow you now because, which it's not a bad plan in some instances, but usually the monster isn't in peril when Rita decides to grow them. Because that I would understand. Right. It's like, oh, they're losing. Maybe they have a better shot if they're bigger, right? Because then it's 1v1 versus 5 instead of 5v1. But that's really never the case that we've seen. So I'm always just like, you're doing okay.
Then it introduces like a new trope because like every time they defeat the monster in small form, they always get surprised that it's huge. We're like, oh, whoa!
That's true.
This happens every time. What are you doing? This is why you have the giant robots.
That's true. I think the only time it wasn't was in Samurai, because in Samurai they said like the Nylox have two forms. They have like this is like the mega form, this is the monster form, or whatever. So like they were well prepared that it's gonna grow. But like every other time you're right, like they grow, it's like, oh no, what's going on? What's going on? This is kind of routine for you at this point. You should know.
Yeah, but I think if I were like human sized, I guess, which I am, and then I saw something that was
with two windows.
Yeah, with two windows. If I was a human sized person with two windows, and every time I saw a giant that big, I would be freaked out. I think, even though I saw it.
I guess it shakes the earth as it grows, so maybe that's also why, it's like a physical reaction.
Right. It's like, oh, it's huge, and I'm a regular human-sized person. Yeah.
In this two-window room.
But also, there were a lot of logistical things with both episodes that bothered me. It was just like, the last episode, I just kind of zoned out, because I was just like, I don't even know, this isn't making sense. And like, it wasn't even a Jason-centric episode, it was a Jeremy-centric episode. Like, it was a very weird episode. And
it was a weird episode.
Like, Billy and Trini, Billy, he was supposed to go look for Jeremy, but just they never show him looking for Jeremy.
Nope.
Right.
And then Trini and Zach get thrown in the pool, and they're like, "Get us out of here!" And then they just cut. And then like 2 minutes later, they join the rest of the you see Jason and Kimberly fighting the monster, and then Zach and Trini just show up. I was like, wait, so did you help them? Did they do it on their own? Can they swim? I'm just so confused. Like it was.
I blame the mismanagement of the children for Tommy not being. Tommy's the true person who really cares about the children.
But so in this episode, Zoran's like, once you defeat the monster, then Kimberly will be free. But then they just like knock his container off his belt.
Yeah, which they said that's not what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we could kill Kimberly
They said
if we destroy it.
Hey, this is gonna kill your friend if you destroy this.
But then it falls off, it opens up, she gets free, she morphs. I was just like, wait. So it was just like, what's going on? Like get your story straight.
Soren doesn't know anything as we've we've seen.
Maybe they know. Maybe they just like to them like there's like maybe Zordon's just like a cranky old man half the time. It's just like I don't know if he knows what he's talking about.
I also found it
Because people
interesting.
have been trapped in things before, and usually they just like destroy them, and then they're fine.
Yeah.
For this one instance, however, it was like, no, you guys can't do it. Nope.
Also,
You guys can't teleport to the beach either.
it was like a whole
guys can't do
nother
that.
dimension. And I was just like,
Right.
okay. And he can
Hey,
trap
how
you in
many
other
dimensions are
dimensions. Yeah, there's so many dimensions.
How many dimensions are we talking about?
Infinite dimensions. But this one is a temporary dimension that
This
will
one's a
disappear.
temporary
Right.
Yeah.
it'll
that will disappear.
Yeah.
We don't know when or what allocated form of time is like associated to the temporary dimension. All we
Yeah.
know is you can't destroy it, except you can.
It's like, when did this get formed and why is it disappearing?
Right. I was just
Right.
saying, what's
Yeah.
the point of this dimension? Like,
Also, this dimension just exists in this jar. It's the most boring dimension ever.
Right.
it's just a jar with like a dirty bottom of the jar. It's
That's
just like,
the worst part. When she was like splashing around it, like that is the worst feeling in the world. Probably.
Right.
Can you imagine being in this small closed space and it's just a puddle that's just a little too high? Like you know it's getting in your shoe.
Yeah.
I think it would just it goes more to Rita's pettiness. She's like, oh, she got soaked earlier, so now I'm just gonna make it.
Remember
Yeah.
this?
She was soaked and had an earthquake. Shaky
And her
legs
shoes, like
again.
she was when she
Yeah.
walked into school, she like looked at her shoes and they were like squishy and dirty. So
Well,
I'm
that
just
part
gonna.
confused me because I was like, you definitely just came out of the rain. Like,
Yeah.
Of course, your shoes are wet. Unless your socks are supposed to be wet, but like she was wearing boots. Like she was wearing like Doc Martin boots. I was like,
Yeah.
But it would
It's pretty
all
well
be
protected.
wet. She had a broken umbrella which she didn't know
That's
about
true.
until like.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean her shoes would be as soaked as that. Like, she'd probably step in a puddle. Like,
Maybe.
more likely.
But
Her
she-
homework being wrecked was the straw for me. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, your day sucks.
How did
Your
get
day
dirt
does
on
suck.
it? You,
There
you,
was
yeah, she
dirt
got
on it.
dirt on it.
You're right. She must have fell or something, like, because
Yeah.
I don't know how you get dirt on your homework if it's in your hand.
On the inside.
yeah. it's just like
But
3
you can
blotches
say-
of dirt.
Yeah, and it wasn't soaked. It was like little drops.
Right. Okay, so this is where like the ending confuses me because like I don't know what the actual theme or lesson of this episode is.
Mhm.
Because so they're all fine, they're all watching, they're all working on the buggy for some reason. Like
Mhm.
they're all like Billy's like the mechanic for the buggy, right? And then I think they went to go watch a news
Yeah,
thing,
about the
right, with
Rangers.
them about it. And then Kimberly's like, or Tommy's like, "Oh, is your day getting better?" She's like, "Oh, it's not that bad." And then the TV blows up. It's like I don't understand how this helped makes anybody feel better. Also, like,
Right.
what is the lesson here? Like,
It's just a cheap punchline at the end.
Yeah.
it's
Um,
like
If you see Trini's face too, she's like really upset. Like, she's not even like laughing like everyone else is laughing. She's like,
I think
what
it's,
the hell?
what the fuck?
I think the
Yeah.
lesson is some days are just bad. It's just you gotta accept that some days are just bad.
Usually, it's like there's like that's because it's like classic '90s television,
Yeah.
Especially with a show about being about what is it, like community service, stuff like that, like finding the good things. It's just like no, like Kimberly literally just had a shit day, and that was the whole
Yeah.
idea
Yeah.
of the show. She just had a terrible day.
I mean, it's a good lesson. I don't think that was their intention, but it is a good lesson.
Yeah.
Some
I mean,
days are
it's a
just
good
bad.
lesson.
You just accept it. Some days
I
just
like
don't
the
go
lessons
well.
that are like that's just life,
Right.
Like, that's
Mhm.
cool. But even that, like watching it, I didn't walk away from it. It's like, wow, that's shitty. Like,
Yeah.
that broke
Yeah.
a TV. Like,
Yeah.
those things are expensive back then.
Yeah, right? Oh, man.
Which had
I
to
feel really
be a-
bad for Kim this episode.
Which had to just
Yeah.
be a timing thing, because I don't think pressing like the volume up a button would actually cause your TV to spontaneously
Short
combust.
circuit.
Yeah.
No, but she made a computer combust just by like typing in code. So like, I wouldn't put it past her.
I will say, maybe this is all just comeuppance for the way she's behaved for the past 30 episodes. She's a mean girl sometimes.
She is a mean girl
She's
sometimes.
mean. And as much as like I was like, yeah, like I feel bad for her, but at the same time, I'm like, We all got bad days.
Yeah.
She'll get over this one. Burnt dress in the umbrella, I don't think she deserved. I feel like that was a little too much. But everything else was like, okay. You were kind of mean to a lot of people.
Even Billy, Billy, your friend. You only have both treat skull with Billy. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Or Kimberly.
Over Kimberly. I like this episode a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was like not fun, but it was like what happened, and it was like enjoyable to watch.
Akira, you got any final thoughts?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Yeah, just tiny things that I noticed after Kimberly breaks the mirror. She throws it on her bed.
Oh yeah, I didn't remember that.
You just put broken glass in your sheets. It's not coming out, dog.
Right.
You just made your. I think I remember clocking that, and I was like, "Well, you just made this situation significantly worse."
Way worse.
Now you can't even come home and jump in bed because that's just
Yeah.
Well, this is
She
the thing
wakes up
about
and just like cuts all over buddy.
this is the thing about TV glass, especially in kids shows. It never like breaks how glass actually breaks. It just like cracks. So I don't know if any glass actually fell out. You know, it just like stayed within the frame.
Yeah, like there
Did
was
it?
some glass on the floor.
Oh,
It
okay.
was on the floor.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I
it
missed
like
that.
bounced a little on the bed, and some more pieces fell out. So
Then that's terrible.
Yeah.
she's gonna have an even worse day.
Oh
It's
man.
so funny.
Burnt dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did enjoy. I mean, again, like these weren't like the most entertaining episodes. These are definitely just episodes I think that are funny when I walk away from them. It's like, what did I
Oh, yeah.
just watch? These are just like insanely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like fun nothing episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. The first episode was definitely just like I don't know what this is. Like I was just,
Yeah.
it was so cut together. There's so many things just that didn't cohesively make sense when I watched the episode.
Yeah.
That's all I took away
Jason
from it.
didn't even look like he really enjoyed hanging out with his cousin, particularly. He was just like, I'm gonna teach you a lesson at the end. He's like, I gotta go. Like,
I gotta go, dog.
Yeah,
Well,
like,
okay,
crazy.
first off, he was like, "Oh, I gotta leave." He said, "I gotta go somewhere." He said,
Yeah.
"I gotta go," and then he started talking about the Red Ranger. He's like, "Oh no, keep going." And then he's like, "Oh, but where were you the whole time?" And he's like, "Okay, now we gotta go." Like,
Right.
we
Yeah.
gotta leave. Like,
Which doesn't make sense because when he just continued to ask the question, like he asked you,
Right,
like, where
yeah,
were you?
exactly.
Oh, I got class. Let's go. Wait, let's go means Jeremy
Let's
comes
go.
with you,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
means the man who just asked you the question where you were is gonna be with you alone now, so that nobody else can even change the subject.
they don't respect children's opinions. They don't think that they're.
Yeah.
But I did like that the other Rangers were basically like, you know, just messing with them. They're like, oh yeah, where were you, Jason? They were just like looked at him. It's like.
Yeah.
We were camping.
Yeah.
Can you
yeah,
imagine
we were
throwing
not
that?
there. Yeah.
Can you imagine throwing that in the logic? It's like
They
we were
did.
camping.
They
We
were
went
like,
without you, Jason.
they're like, they did. The first thing they're like, oh, you met the Power Rangers? Good. I'm sorry we missed it. We were on a trip. They said that.
Yeah, our boring field trip.
Yeah.
What
But
about the
our car-
gaslighters?
They calmed them down. It didn't work.
I really thought he was gonna be like, I was hiding.
Excuse me.
You know, I thought he was just gonna be like very timidly say I was hiding.
Yeah.
And be
I
a man
abandoned
about
you.
it.
Got lost looking for you or something.
Yeah. I abandoned you and ran away.
Be a man
Yeah.
about it. I was hiding. I was scared. Be a man about
I
it.
was scared.
I was scared. Martial arts didn't teach me enough confidence.
Yeah.
Martial arts didn't teach me how to beat a guy who throws boulders at me. Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Are you
The best part-
insane? Let's go to this stupid karate class.
The worst part of him going, I gotta go, meant that he was gonna leave him there, talking to his friends over the Power Rangers. He's gonna leave him there. And then he stayed, and then he said, alright, since you're asking questions, I guess we can both go. Now you've earned the right to leave with me.
Maybe he was embarrassed of his friends. He's like, oh shit, I am a terrible. I'm terrible with children.
That's so funny. Anyways, I think that concludes this week's episode of Once a Ranger. I'm Minhas. I'm joined with Nick, Akil, and Nub. And don't forget to tune in next time.
Once a Ranger, always a Ranger.